Welcome back to No Bias Hoops. Today we're going to be talking about how the Houston Rockets could become an NBA contender. I have 3 trade ideas, one of which I don't know how realistic it is, but the other 2 I think could happen. The first one, I think they should trade Dillon Brooks for DeAndre Hunter. The Hawks would be getting off a little money because although Dillon Brooks makes more money this season, his contract is going down while DeAndre Hunter's contract is going up. It's not a significant amount of money, so I don't know how much of a salary cut it actually is for Atlanta, and I don't really think they need to salary cut too much, but it's still an option. The Rockets could send second picks or even a protected first, which would make sense because DeAndre Hunter is a pretty solid player, and I think with the change of scenery, he could be really good. And Dillon Brooks, he kind of disappeared last season after having good but turbulent seasons in Memphis, so I think he could still be good for the Hawks. These trades are going to help Houston go one of 2 ways. I don't know if they're going to make the team better or worse, so they're either going to make the team better so that they'll be in a position to beat the Clippers and beat the Warriors and beat the Lakers and beat the possible Grizzlies or whoever's in that play-in range and make the playoffs. Or it'll help them be worse just this season so that they can get a top pick and get a Cooper Flag or a VJ Edgecombe. I'm not saying they'll get like a top 3 pick, but these moves just help them so they can get better and then build on that, or be worse and then take a leap. So the next trade is trading Jalen Green. I thought about this, and I think that Alperen Sengun fits more of a player that, I feel like Jalen Green is more of a Trae Young. And Trae Young could probably be a number 2 or 3 on a championship contender. But I think Sengun, I don't know if he could be a 1 on a championship contender, but he could definitely be a good 2. He reminds me of Sabonis. People say Jokic, but Jokic is a lot more dominant. But I think he really is almost exactly like a Domantas Sabonis. So that's why I'm trading Jalen Green to the Toronto Raptors. There's other teams that could go for him, definitely. But maybe the Jazz, maybe the Spurs, probably not. Maybe the Warriors, but I doubt it. And if I'm Houston, I'm not trying to get any team in the West this player. I'm trying to get him to Toronto, maybe Washington or Detroit if they're interested. Whoever's interested. But Toronto could potentially throw me all their Indiana picks. So Toronto won't have to get rid of their own picks, which will be good for them. So they could still keep the rebuild going. But they'll still potentially be able to take a leap into an Eastern Conference that has 8 teams that are trying to win. But I'm not sure that the Miami Heat are really that good anymore. Same with the Cavs. If the Raptors really did take a leap, which they have Emmanuel Quickly, they have RJ Barrett, they have Scotty Barnes, who's an all-star, they would have Jalen Green now, then they would have Kelly Olynyk, who Utah was horrible, and he made them, at the trade deadline, they were at the 10th seed. After that, they made some tanking moves, including trading Olynyk, and they just fell off. But Olynyk really is a good player. So they also have Jakob Poeltl, and Toronto genuinely could be a good team next year. I think in the deal, they're sending Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji, and then all of Indiana's picks with maybe a protected Toronto pick. And if you're the Rockets, I think you like Grady Dick a lot. I don't see him as an all-star in the league, but I see him as a Luke Kennard, as a guy that you want on your championship team, because look at the Celtics. They had 8 guys, including their center and power forward, who could hit the 3 very consistently. And I think that's going to be the new thing for NBA teams to want. And Grady Dick, you can not like a lot of things about him, but he is a dead-on shooter. And if the Houston Rockets are going for a championship, which they are, he would be a nice fit. Ochai is kind of a wild card. he had a bad shooting year last year, but the year before with Utah, he was electric. He's a good defender, very hustle, and I think he could be a nice piece for Toronto. But before I made this video, I was thinking like a Gary Trent sign and trade too, but he's on the Bucks now. So there would have to be one more player in the deal. It might be like a Chris Boucher, who the Rockets could move for another role player, but I like that. I'm not sure that it's really going to happen because the Rockets aren't getting a ton in return. I don't really know what a deal looks like for other teams, so Toronto made the most sense, but I'm not sure that will actually happen. The third trade, I'm not sure how realistic it is. That's trading Jabari Smith Jr. I think they should cash in the chips for Jabari Smith Jr. now because he's turning out to be a solid player. They picked him 3rd overall a couple years back, and I think he's going to be a decent player in the league, but he's going into his 3rd season after being the 3rd overall pick. I think you could get value for him, maybe to a team like Brooklyn who wants to add a core young player that they can move forward with. Maybe to Detroit who would like to add him. And in return, what you're wanting is like for Brooklyn, for example. Jabari Smith doesn't make money yet, so this is why I'm saying maybe you throw Chris Boucher in this deal. Or Steven Adams. And you're getting Cam Johnson, who is I think he's a really good player. I don't think you're getting picks from Brooklyn, though. You might be able to get 1 or 2. But in that case, you might also want to get Cam Thomas, which I don't know if Brooklyn would give. So maybe we're thinking like Washington, and maybe in return you get Kyle Kuzma and some seconds or a protected first. The other team was Utah. I was thinking maybe like Jabari Smith for Taylor Hendricks and a first, but then you're kind of just getting the same problem with Hendricks, who you don't really know if he actually is going to be good. He's been very disappointing in like summer league and stuff. So I don't really know if there's actually a Jabari Smith Jr. trade out there, and maybe Houston still likes him and would like to keep him, but that's just something I threw out there. This will either make Houston significantly worse, where they'll be able to be bad for this season, draft a rookie, then they'll still have gotten a lot of picks from these deals. They'll still have their young players, Amen Thompson. They'll have Cam Whitmore. They'll have Alvin Sengun. They'll have other guys, Tari Eason, and they'll be able to move forward. And if that player, like Joel Embiid, it'll really be OKC, Houston, and the Jazz. They have the picks. They have the young players. They'll be the ones fighting for him, or Giannis, or whoever it is. And I see Houston being good in the future. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you next time on No Bias Hoops.